guys, Howzit? Welcome trek all to my Afrikaans-speaking followers. As you had saw in the lead up to the video, I had done a promo for it talking about meeting a young man on TikTok who is a die-hard Irish rugby supporter, Irish rugby fan. And I thought here's a unique opportunity to talk to the youth about the future of Irish rugby and where it could go and where he feels that it is right now, as well as the URC. So we will welcome him. His screen name is how you can find him on TikTok. And we will get started ASAP. Here we go, guys.
Hello, everyone. I'm Leinster_Horseplay. I'm on TikTok, and I'm host of the Rugby Talk podcast.
Great at go ahead and start it, man. I was going to go ahead and start with like the most stereotypical thing an American or Canadian could say would be top of the morning. So, since I am talking to an Irishman, I felt like it was only proper to crack open a Guinness. It's about lunchtime here, so it's non-alcoholic, but yeah.
You best have a glass. Do you have a glass to pour that into? Oh, that's foul. That's foul. That's foul.
Right out of the can, bro.
No. Oh my God.
It's this is
right.
Actually this is the best non-alcoholic beer there is because I don't drink alcohol, and yeah, I know you're supposed to drink it out of a pint glass, and it's America, so you know
that hurt me.
Oh, that's delicious. I haven't had one of those since rugby since like domestic rugby season, so it's really a good one. But it's kind of cold. What are you drinking?
Water.
Okay, yeah, you're smarter than me because I also have this.
All right.
We're unhealthy as hell here. But anyways, so I found you on TikTok. You invited me onto live. You were actually the first person to ever do that with me on there. I had a prior TikTok account that got shut down, and I kind of restarted and did a different angle with it and whatnot. But I thought about bringing you on here just because, like, look, I obviously cover, you see the background, you see everything. I'm a massive South African rugby guy, and I have a lot of respect for Irish rugby. And I think the biggest part of the respect is that neither of us can stand England. So that's like,
yeah, that's it.
But leading into this World Cup 2023, you're ranked number 1. We're ranked number 3. We're in the pool of death, regardless of how anybody wants to call it. And you guys go on this massive, what was it, how many games did you guys win in a row?
17 games in a row.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
What was your feeling going into the tournament? Did you feel like, hey, it's now or never? Like, this is it? This is our best chance? Or how did you feel?
Yeah, so this 2023 was the second World Cup where we went in thinking we could win it. Now, in 2019, everything kind of fell apart with the whole coaching. Like Joe Schmidt kind of fell out of favour with the team, I think. It was just everything went wrong building up to it. And then, you know, how that went. We nearly lost 2 games. We lost to Japan in the group stage. We nearly lost to Russia. And then, you know, everyone knows what happened in New Zealand in that quarterfinal. But leading into this World Cup, everyone was like, yeah, we can do it this time, you know? This was our best chance. And when we did get knocked out, we were all kind of asking, now, if not now, when? But so it was disappointing. I really thought we had a chance, but yeah, didn't go.
So going into the pool game against the Springboks, which was like the biggest game of all the pool, in my opinion, and probably your opinion too, because you had number 1 versus the defending champs. We go in. So I obviously picked the Springboks. I didn't pick it by much, and it was a very close game throughout. Very physical. You kept up with the physicality. That was the thing that shocked me the most, was that I saw Ireland able to play that physical, hard style of rugby that let's face facts, a lot of countries can't keep up with that. And Ireland came out and said, no, we can do that too. And, you know, the thinnest of margins of victory over the Springboks, did that add to kind of like, hey, this is our chance, it's now or never? Or was it like, okay, that was that, but we know it's going to get harder the farther we go into this thing? Or did you feel like once you had beaten South Africa, you had beaten the biggest competition in the tournament?
Yeah, yeah. So when we beat South Africa, I was like, "Oh, we're winning it. We're winning. No one's stopping us."
Yeah,
It was just amazing because I was so nervous going into that game. I was thinking, "Oh, what if we lose this? Then we've no chance really. Or what if we lose it? Then the fans are going to be after us for ages." But we won it, and we won it by stopping his defensively and attacking well. And I was really surprised at that. So I was like, "Yeah, I think we can
I
win this tournament."
yeah, I was very impressed. I like I said, I didn't. I'll crap on England. I'll crap on France. I try not to crap on Italy because they crap on themselves. Scotland is like, okay, they're there. Wales is in a rebuild, so I'm not worried about them. And it was like with Ireland, you had everything firing at the right moment. Everything
We
was
did.
looking good at the right moment. You beat us in the pool, which, take in mind, 2019 lost the pool game as well against New Zealand and still ended up winning it. But like, that's how we took it. South Africans kind of took it like, good on the Irish. We need to make some changes. We'll be fine further on. And with you beating us in the pool, we kind of had to sit on the edge of our seats because we worried about, well, what if Scotland upsets you guys? Because then that's it. We're out.
Yeah,
And you guys end up dispatching of Scotland properly. It leads into the quarterfinal. And I'm thinking back to the fact that I watched you beat the All Blacks in Chicago. You go down to New Zealand and do something that's never been done in history and beat New Zealand in New Zealand. Historic. And I think,
it
okay,
was a tour win. Yeah, I think we were the first to do the tour win, maybe second.
yeah, you're going in to play New Zealand in the quarterfinal. This is obviously, and I've people argue with me all the time, this is probably the weakest New Zealand side in history that I've seen, at least in my lifetime. You go into this
Yeah,
quarterfinal. I'm thinking, I'm picking. I'm all over TikTok. I'm all over YouTube. Fucking Ireland's going to put the All Blacks down. We're going to meet Ireland again in the final, and it's going to be the final the world wants to see. And you go in, and it just doesn't work out. And you see Johnny at the end of it. That was it for him.
mm.
And how did you feel as an Irish fan? Was it just crushing? Were you just like, shit, what are we going to do? Or was it like back to the drawing board? Or how did you feel?
It was tough because we never been in that situation before. Pretty much every World Cup, we either hadn't been good enough to win or things had kind of fallen apart before. But this is the first time we went into a World Cup, everything ready, and we were actually killing teams. And then something happened on the quarterfinal day. Something fell apart, and they just couldn't do it. I think
I
they
think
lost their heads the most thing. It's
I,
that burden they have of never winning a quarterfinal, I think. But yeah, it was tough, especially
it,
seeing Johnny at the end.
it was just, I think the saddest part about it was that the interesting statistic is that all the tries were scored by Kiwis that day. And with Bundy Aki scoring, and we get through that. Obviously, the World Cup ends. The Springboks lift it. We go from there. I guess the real question where it comes into me is like, okay, so Andy Farrell's contract has been extended. We have discussed this in great deal. Andy Farrell is the real deal. I think he is a great coach.
Oh yeah.
He has definitely got, in America, we'd say he's got that dog in him. He's a man. He's a man. He ain't like, he's not a punk. He doesn't step back from anything. If you charge at him, he's going to charge at you. Now you have to, the question becomes, you had guys like obviously Johnny Sexton, former World Player of the Year, who's done. What does the future hold? What are the replacements? What are you looking forward to in the next 4 years? What would you like to see happen with Irish rugby in the next 4 years leading into the next World Cup?
The biggest thing I think we need to do is we need to stop getting foreigners like Kiwis in and getting South Africans into our team. We just need to have an Irish team. I think it's so important in that situation to have a fully Irish team, So come next World Cup, whatever about someone like Matt Canson who has Irish parents, so he is Irish. Someone like Bundy Aki, I love Bundy. Bundy's one of my favourite players, but he's not Irish. You want to have your team being Irish. And if we do win the next World Cup, I'd like to have a fully Irish team doing this.
Well, I think it's also kind of just like anywhere else in Europe. Your country, just like America, I live in America, you have a lot of people moving there from other places. I mean, like, Maro Itoje is born in England, but Maro Itoje is not English. He's Nigerian. And do you have that in Ireland as well? Do you have like an immigrant population that's moving there whose kids are playing rugby? Or is it still kind of an Irish thing?
And that's fine. And that's fine, because if those people are coming here and they're growing up Irish, then they've every right to play for Ireland and they have every right to call themselves Irish. But for someone like Jameson Gibson Park, James Lowe, and Bundy Aki, those are the three notable ones. They moved here to play for Leinster, and Connacht.
Yeah.
They didn't move here because when they were kids, and they didn't grow up Irish. They grew up in New Zealand, and they would have dreamt of becoming All Blacks, So they're not Irish.
We had a situation with the Springboks this year. We had a gentleman that played for Ireland, John Klein, who was from South Africa, obviously was no longer used by Ireland. He played for South Africa. The situation with that is he coming back to South Africa? And I get on social media. No, I mean, his wife is Irish. He lives in Ireland. Like, he wants to stay in Ireland. Now he plays. I don't think he'll ever play for the Springboks in another World Cup. He might play here and there, but like, did you feel like any kind of way about that guy, or was it just like, okay, I didn't really care about that because he only had maybe five or six caps, I think, for Ireland, or did he have?
Oh, yeah, he had very few. He kind of came and went for that World Cup, so he wasn't.
Okay. It wasn't like he was a big guy or anything. Okay, so you didn't feel any kind of way about that.
No.
With that being said, you can go through it. Obviously, you do see the Kiwi guys that are on your roster and that kind of thing. And another thing that I have seen, not so much with the Irish roster, you see it a bit more in Scotland and Wales, but it's guys who are born in England playing for those teams.
Yeah.
I don't. We did one yesterday. Is with a guy in Northern Ireland. I'm like, hey, do you consider yourself? And he's like, no, I'm Irish. Like, we're all Irish here. We don't consider this or anything. If it was an Irish kid who was born in England, would you think that works? Or is it like, no, you want domestically born and raised players?
As long as you have a parent that's Irish, then yeah, you're Irish, You can call yourself Irish, or you can call yourself wherever you're born. But so take someone like Matt Hansen, and Matt Hansen, right? His mum's Irish. He grew up in Australia, but he had a lot of Irish influence growing up, and he came here and played for Ireland instead. So I consider him Irish. So
I get that. He did have, I think, a couple of U20 caps for the Wallabies, I believe, as well. But like I said, I got lit up about a lot of this because going into the pool game, I talked about it a lot. Hey, how come you have so many foreign-born players? And it was like, I got a lot of Irish people that were like, yeah, we don't like that. And then I got a lot of people like, oh, that's racist for you to say that. And it's like, no, I'm just making a point. Like, and take in mind, Bundy Aki's team in New Zealand, I'm a massive Chiefs fan. Like, I remember him playing in New Zealand. And I mean, if you say the name Aki, you could probably say, oh, well, that sort of sounds Irish. Not really, but it's so we get through that. You guys decided to go with Andy Farrell, and it's looking good. Do you feel like safe? Do you feel like in 2027 that you're going to have another chance?
Oh yeah, and I tell you why, because in the last few years we've just had so much talent coming through. Like these world class players coming out of nowhere. Like take Dan Sheehan, Caelan Doris. Yeah. Like two of the best, probably the two best players in the world in their positions, and they came from nowhere. They came through the Leinster Academy, and when they first came up, they were like, who are these people? And now they're some of the best players in the world. So I think 4 years' time we could have so many more of them, and we can suddenly have a young, fresh squad who are all at the top of the world pretty much in their positions. And I think we have an even better chance 2027 now because of that.
So obviously with Johnny Sexton being a veteran, you had guys like Dwayne Vermeulen being a veteran for the Springboks. It's kind of an older squad. Who are going to be those older guys in 4 years that you think are still going to be hitting like really, really well into their 30s, obviously, but are there guys that you think currently on the squad that you think in 4 years are still going to just be like dominant as hell?
Yeah. I'm thinking mainly Josh van der Fleer. I think he's 30 now, so he's going to be 34 come.
He's going to be harder.
Oh, he'll be coming for that. Like, yeah. Like
I agree.
He's going to be coming for that trophy. And another one, Tyke Byrne, if he's still going, he'll be another one who's going to want that trophy. Tyke Furlong. Who else? Jeez, there's a lot of players this World Cup that are kind of the 28, 30 kind of range that are going to still be good come next World Cup. So
definitely. Something that I didn't put on the list, but I did want to discuss briefly. The Six Nations. Obviously, it's a very, very proud trophy for you guys. You guys are very proud of that tournament. Do you feel that they should add relegation and promotion to that Six Nations? Do you think that Romania and Georgia should get a chance to play in it, or do you think it should stay what it is? It's the Six Nations right now.
Yeah, I just think for Italy's sake, as well as kind of Georgia, Portugal, those teams that could come up. Italy have been just getting dominated in Six Nations ever since they've come in. They've maybe got the one spoon nearly every time they've played in it. I'd love to see Italy drop down, maybe win something, then come back up. And we could also see a Georgia or Portugal playing big teams, which they need to develop.
I mean, the same thing can be said for Argentina. They were kind of the floor mat. Now they actually beat the All Blacks twice in the last couple of years. So it does take some time, but I get what you're saying about Italy. And if you want to talk about a team heavily built on imports, Italy, it's like a lot of imported players. So we've discussed that. Now I want to move on to something that, like, obviously is a little more closer to you because you grew up with this competition. I did not. And that was what was initially called the Pro 14. It transitioned into the Rainbow Cup, which I thought was hilarious. To what is now the, it was horrible. What a name!
That was a terrible name. Yeah, it wasn't the full tournament, but yeah, it was a preseason tournament they had.
Yeah, and then it became the URC with the addition. Initially, the Cheetahs and the Southern Kings entered the competition. Didn't really make a whole lot of waves, but when the four big South African sides joined, which for me, initially, I was not happy with. I preferred Super Rugby. I thought it was a much better competition. Then we joined the URC, and you see some success pretty early on. How do you feel as like an Irish club rugby guy, especially with your support of Leinster? Do you feel that the South African teams have added anything better to the competition? Do you feel like it's made the competition better adding these South African sides?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because so when in the first year that they joined, the four previous seasons, of 4 in a row, Leinster won, and they dominated everyone, right? To the point where me as a Leinster fan kind of stopped caring about the competition. And we didn't really, in that season where the South African teams were in it, we were focusing heavily on the Champions Cup. And as everyone knows, we lost that 2022 final to La Rochelle. And then we kind of went back to the URC as we normally do, like, oh, sure, we can win this anyway. And then the Bulls knocked us out. And we were like, whoa, this doesn't happen. So now Leinster, we care about the URC a lot more. And we want to win it now because it's really competitive with those sides. But it did take us by storm that first year when the Bulls knocked us out.
Yeah, like I said, I was not keen on it at first. I didn't think that it was a good level of competition, and mostly just because it wasn't the Irish sides. It was like teams like Zebra Parma, like the teams that were really bad that you're just like, these are trash. Like, I don't want to play you don't even want to watch those games because they're not entertaining. And then it got more competitive. And then, like, Benetton has popped onto the scene and has become really, really good. And you're like, wow, Benetton's really solid now. Do you feel now that it's solidified the competition? Now, there is talk of teams wanting to join. The Cheetahs in South Africa have made a lot of noise about possibly wanting to join, which I think that says a lot about how big South African rugby is, that they could have a fifth team possibly.
Yeah.
But do you think now that this competition is the best competition in the world as far as club rugby goes?
I wouldn't say the best, but I would say second best after the top 14 in France. The top 14 in France is crazy competitive. It's super hard, tough level rugby. So
money
is the answer. That's where you get teams like Toulon and La Rochelle. But yeah, that's definitely the most competitive. But URC is coming up second, I think, now because of the South African and Irish teams. So in the last 2 years, you've had 2 different winners.
What do you? I think. Just imagine if Wales and Scotland ever get their crap together. Imagine how
Oh
tough
yeah,
it's
yeah.
going
We
to
could have
be.
a crazy competitive league then.
It
Yeah,
would be hard. And I mean, like I said, with that being said, like you have seen the influx of South African guys coming and playing, Ulster. Uh, do you have any? Who do you have at Leinster that's South African currently right now?
uh, we have one guy called Jason Jenkins, and we're getting RG Snyman now in the summer, so we're gonna have two. But we've had Jason Jenkins a long time.
You take care of the
Yeah,
Viking. You take care of the Viking. He does like to
I hope
drink
he doesn't get injured. Yeah.
and keep him away from fire because that's how he got hurt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got burnt on a fire. I think, and that's like for me being a South African fan, like I enjoy that because it's like, okay, we still get to have our players come back to South Africa, but they're playing for your teams. And so, do you see the benefit? Do you feel like, hey, having these South African teams? Do you think it makes you? My personal belief is I think a big reason that we were able to win the World Cup is because we are playing against the best of the Northern Hemisphere. We're getting to play both styles of rugby. Like you get the physical rugby from South Africa, but we get the technical stuff playing against you guys. And I feel like it's better than Super Rugby. I feel like because with Super Rugby, it was really just let's play the Kiwi sides, and that was really about it. And with you guys, it's like even your bad Irish sides are still entertaining to play against. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, and the Champions Cup, actually, I forgot to say that. Champions Cup is the top level competition in the world, pretty much, at club level.
At club level,
so,
yeah.
And even having South African teams in that's making that harder as well. But
I think the only problem I have with the Champions Cup is when we play the French teams and I can't pronounce half the players' names.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys struggle with that with some of the South African guys, especially the guys with like the Xhosa or Zulu names. You're like, how do you say that? But with that being said, obviously you're a big TikTok guy, and I'm still kind of new to the whole TikTok thing. I was in it for a while. I got away. Do you feel that like TikTok is kind of the future of I mean, like I call myself an independent journalist is what I'm an independent sports journalist. Do you feel that's what TikTok gives you as like an outlet to say, hey, I want to be a pundit about this, but I don't want to have to do it with like a corporate sponsorship?
Yeah. So rugby on TikTok, it's grown massively around during the World Cup, before the World Cup. And yeah, it's a good platform for just anyone to go give their opinion about rugby, make some rugby content like I'm doing. And I think it's going to help grow the popularity of the sport massively because you see loads of new people coming on there. There's loads of new, like for instance, in Leinster now, the reason we're called bandwagon fans is because there's a lot of people from TikTok coming in, supporting Irish rugby now. They want to go, oh, support club now, support Leinster. So yeah, so it is growing at the Leinster fan base massively, and it's also growing other teams' fan base massively. So I think it's great that everything's on TikTok now.
Yeah, I think it's a bonanza. It's something that like I'm still kind of getting into. I enjoy it. It's easy to kind of use. And I mean, I'm an older guy. Obviously, you can see the grays in my beard. But with that being said, we initially, when we started talking, it was you wanted to discuss rugby in the United States, and we've talked about it quite a bit. And I've kind of given you my opinions about the whole thing. So what I ask you this is countries that have not made it yet that you think in 4 to 8 years could be like that, not the next tier one nation, but maybe like the next kind of making that push. Because like for me, on this side of the globe, Mexico is starting to get into rugby very big now. Yeah, Mexico. And they have the money. And another country that's getting into it quite a bit is Brazil. Brazil is playing rugby now.
So there's Super Rugby Americas, yeah.
And you've got, obviously in Europe, Portugal making a decent run, Spain making some noise at times. Do you feel that like we're expanding the tournament in 4 years? Do you feel that that's what needs to happen, or do you think, hey, we should keep it to the 20 best? If you can't qualify, you can't qualify. How do you feel about that?
I would like to go. I think countries are going to grow massively. Portugal's going to be huge next World Cup. I think they're going to possibly challenge the likes of Italy, teams like that kind of bottom of tier one. Georgia, that's another one. Georgia is it's their national sport, but it's a money situation. So once they kind of get their act together, maybe get some clubs in the URC or something, they'll be good challengers. Uruguay, they shocked everyone last World Cup. Who else? And everyone in South Africa with a Super Rugby Americas team, I think, is going to be a bit of a threat come World Cup 2031, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Chile qualified for the first time. I actually knew their starting hook. I know their starting hooker, Augusto Bohm. He played here domestically for a year, and a lot of that is World Rugby. World Rugby's been pumping money into those programs to help them grow. And like I said, you come from a traditional rugby nation. We think of where it started. And I think it's only right that you continue to be competitive. I'd rather it be you guys than England because I can't stand it. But with that being said, do you feel, as your national team has done better, do you feel the popularity of rugby, not just at a fan base level, but do you see youth, is it still very popular in Ireland to play rugby?
So I don't know if you know this, but after the World Cup, Leinster versus Munster in Dublin is normally the biggest domestic match on the calendar.
Was that
it normally
Aviva?
It's at the Aviva, yeah. So it normally get maybe 45,000. It's sold out. It's sold out the Aviva, which is a big stadium, and that doesn't happen much. So, and that was right after the World Cup. So just the amount of support in the country after the World Cup was huge. And the amount of people talking about rugby. And so basically the years before, Rugby World Cup 2015 was the first one I was really following rugby for. No one was talking about it. And you wouldn't have known it was going on. But now, this World Cup, there's banners everywhere. There was all support the team, Rugby World Cup. There's ads on TV. When I walked into the supermarket, there was a little board telling me what match is next. There's just huge support all around the country. And it was sad to see that we got knocked out quarterfinals again with so much support. But I think it's just going to keep getting bigger.
It's one of those things that we've talked about it. I've been around the world. I've seen rugby, and it's with Australia, for example, they don't want to play rugby anymore because it's so bad, and they have to play the All Blacks. It feels like you're telling me the exact opposite. Ireland, everybody is getting into it. There's support behind it, and is it still? I mean, football is still a much more popular sport there, right? Soccer is still much more popular, I imagine, or is
rugby's catching up because conveniently at the same time. So at the same time in our country had the 17-game win streak, and we had all sorts. Our football team didn't even qualify for the Euros. We got hammered in our qualifying group, didn't even make the playoffs to try to get in. So football is really plummeting in this country, and rugby's on the rise.
Looks like I might need to book a ticket to the Republic of Ireland, sir.
Yeah.
Come on over and watch some serious rugby action. Well, with that being said, make this a brief convo. I know you've got things you got to do because it's a Friday night and you're a young man. We've got games on this weekend. Your game was obviously already earlier this week. What are you going to watch any more games this weekend? What games are you planning on watching? And
there's Leinster versus Ulster on New Year's Day. I'll be watching that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think rugby in this country is definitely on the rise after this World Cup. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear, man. And with you guys, the youth and everything being excited about it, that's what you need. Because it's not, I mean, I'm in my 40s. The people above us are kind of getting out of it. And now it's it's good to see that you young kids are really, really still carrying the banner and you're really still big about the sport and you have passion for it because that's what rugby needs to succeed, in my opinion. So, yeah, you can follow this guy. I will leave the link to his TikTok underneath the description of the video. Thanks for coming on, man. It's been great to talk to you, and we will continue to talk on TikTok as the season goes on. And then as we get closer to the Six Nations, I will be looking to you, young man, for the odds and ends to know what's going to happen in the Six Nations. Do you have any early predictions for the Six Nations?
Ireland winning it. France second. Scotland third. England fourth. Wales fifth and Italy sixth. Those are my predictions.
Here's an even better one. You're going to South Africa this summer. Well, our
Oh,
summer.
yeah.
What do you think? What are you thinking?
I think we win 1 out of 2 of those. So you're playing one up in Loftus Versfield, Pretoria, which is it's crazy high up in the air. I just don't think because of the altitude we're going to have a good time up there. But come the Durban test, sea level, we're used to that. I think we're going to beat South Africa.
It is
So I
lush
think
and
it's going to be
green.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think South Africa win 1, Ireland win 1.
I will agree with you. I think it's going to be an exciting test because I'm hoping both Rassie and Andy take it as an opportunity to kind of maybe break in some young blood.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I have a lot of players I want to see on the Ireland team. I'm sure you have someone Springboks team.
Well, so like just to say, hey, look, like it's you take the kid and you throw him in the pool and say sink or swim. And I think playing Springboks Ireland, that's going to be a serious you either sink or you swim kind of moment. And I think that should be a great series to watch, man. And yeah, so you enjoy your weekend, man, and I will catch up with you on TikTok, bro.
Thanks, Mel. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Cheers.
See ya.
And that was it, folks. That was the conversation with the Leinster superfan there. Like I said, I will leave the link on the description of this video. You can follow him on TikTok. Follow me on TikTok. I'll leave mine as well. And I hope all of you have a great weekend. Cheers, guys.